My name is Melanie Potock, and I'm a speech language pathologist who specializes in feeding disorders, or picky eating really is kind of the umbrella term. And that might be anything from a baby who's having trouble breast or bottle feeding, to a child who is trying to transition off of tube feeding, to a young man with autism, to just a garden variety picky eater. And my co-author of Raising a Healthy, I can't talk. I'm a speech pathologist and I can't see. It's Monday. And my co-author of Raising a Healthy, Happy Eater is Dr. Namali Fernando. We call her Dr. Yum. And
that's right.
We are here thanks to the good people at Talk Tools. And they have agreed to host my Mondays with Coach Mel, which is my weekly Monday event, where I do Facebook Live on the My Munchbug page. And we are so grateful. We're going to be telling you about all the cool things that Talk Tools is doing and why we love them so much soon. But for right now, let's tell you what the title of this event is. This event is called Feeding Problems, Big and Small, Why Size Matters. I think probably the best way to start this evening is, Dr. Yum, would you tell everybody how we met and what we have in common in terms of feeding problems and size of the problem and maybe even size of the kids?
Yeah, of course. So I love telling this story because it's a modern friendship that started on social media, actually. And so I was in my community in Fredericksburg, Virginia, working as a pediatrician in general pediatrics, and I was seeing so many kids with picky eating problems. I was seeing a lot of obese children, a lot of underweight children, but kind of the common thread was that kids were having trouble eating.
Yeah.
And their families were a little bit confused about how to get them to eat a great diet. They kind of knew what a good diet should look like, but they didn't know how to get there.
Yeah.
And so as a result, I was seeing this spectrum of issues, and I started tackling it in a little bit more of a hands-on way than I had for the previous decade, by giving out recipes and really just starting to teach people how to get back in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And find more joy in mealtime, and started teaching some classes and really getting kids in the kitchen with me. And it was so fun. I had such a great time with it, and I really realized how much joy could be had in the kitchen with kids. I saw that in my own family, and I was starting to see that in my patients. And I wanted to start teaching a new segment of our community how to cook and how to enjoy food, and that was preschoolers. But I didn't know how to go about it without, really leveraging myself, and I was running out of time, and I was overwhelmed, and I didn't know how I was going to teach so many kids. And I had been following Coach Mel, as I affectionately call her, on my Munchbug, and I thought, this is a person who really has figured out how to bring joy back into feeding. And she's such an expert in feeding, and she goes around and she teaches all kinds of other specialists how to do this. And I thought, if I want to write a program, a curriculum to teach preschoolers how to eat better through teachers and through their schools, then this is the perfect person to help me, because she understands all kinds of kids and their needs, whether it be typically developing kids, kids with special needs, kids with medical issues. She knows how to make them enjoy eating, and that's what I really want. And so I just sent her a message, and she called me, right? You called me from a parking lot.
I did. I was outside Big Lots in the parking lot. We talked for like an hour.
Yeah.
My office is my car, so.
I said, I really need your help, and because of your generous big-heartedness, you said, yeah, I'll help you. And so we wrote the Dr. Yum Preschool Food Adventure over the phone across 2 time zones over the course of the summer in 2013.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of 5 years of teaching hundreds of kids, now really all over the country, how to eat better and enjoy food. And
yeah,
it's been such a joy. And then you coaxed me to write a book with you. That was your
see, I'm like, we should write a book.
Yeah, well, we enjoyed the writing process together, and
yeah.
our common thread was really, I think, recognizing that parents needed more information, and they needed to find the joy in eating and sharing a meal with their family. And I was really so interested to see that you were finding so many of the same issues that I was,
yep.
Even in a slightly different clinical setting. And we really had a connection about how to help families.
Well, and that's how the title of this event came to be, because when we're reflecting on our journey together, I remember us chatting one night, we were having a glass of wine, and I remember talking about, like, well, if childhood obesity is something that is really close to your heart and you're trying to help find a solution and you're trying to help your community, and I know in your community this is really a challenge, and we were brainstorming together. But what was so interesting is when I told you what my underweight and even failure to thrive kids were eating, you said that's the same thing my picky eaters eat in Virginia, who are struggling being a little bit overweight, and they're just eating more of it. And it was things like, I mean, it's the stuff we all love: French fries, chicken nuggets, pasta, macaroni and cheese, all the yummy stuff, but they weren't eating the healthy, fresh, out of the garden, fresh produce, farmer's market, ready to cook kind of stuff. It was all very processed. And I was so impressed that you had this brand new pediatric office, and at the back of the pediatric office is this amazing teaching kitchen. And yeah, I mean, I have been in your office waiting for you to be done with doing a well check or treating a baby who came in for an ear infection. And so often I've seen you take a family back to the kitchen and just start cooking with them and showing them how to make their own baby food and how to have one meal for one family and not feel like you have to necessarily drive through for the kids and make a salad for yourself. So many creative ideas. And that's how not only our friendship came to be, but just that common denominator of, we've got families in Virginia and in Colorado, where I am, who are really challenged by how to feed their children, and they want to raise healthy, happy eaters, which is the reason we named the book that.
That's
so
right.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see how the habits can be the same but translate into slightly different problems, a different place on the growth curve, but the underpinnings can be very similar.
Yeah. The common denominator is the stress that it brings to family meal times.
Absolutely.
Actually, throughout the day, it kind of spills into the whole day, not just dinner time, right? It's
right.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to be sure that we talked a little bit about the different talking points that we're going to be covering, and I want everyone to remember to ask some questions too. After we get a chance to sort of cover these bullet points, we'll go back, we'll look at the questions. And we also want to be sure at the very end to talk about some really exciting things that Talk Tools is helping us with. So in addition to just chatting for a few minutes like we did about the underweight and overweight kids and these picky eating habits, and I was wondering, Dr. Yum, can you talk a little bit about growth curves? Because when I teach my courses on feeding therapy to parents and professionals, I was just in Canada, and I'm really excited because I'm going to Ireland this weekend to teach there. Well, yeah, I meant to tell you, you're invited. Just sip into DC, pick you up, and we'll just keep going. So often I'll hear, well, he's on his growth curve, so what's the problem? Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think in pediatrics, we do rely a lot on the growth curve. The growth curve is a great story, right? So it tells a story of maybe where your genetics are. So, you know, often I see families where the parents are very small, and so I sort of expect that a child might be on the lower half of the growth curve, but hopefully following a nice trend. The growth curve, you know, reflects maybe issues that kids may be having with getting enough calories or too many calories, but it really isn't the whole story necessarily.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's kind of why I became so passionate about teaching kids how to eat a great diet, because, you know, I was first drawn to this by the 1/3 of children who I see on the growth curve who are overweight and obese. But I've told the story many times. When I spend enough time with a family, I'll find kids that are really in the middle third of the growth curve, exactly where they should be, but they may be struggling with their diet.
Yeah.
So, and it could be that they're chronically constipated. It could be that they're having behavioral or attention issues. You know, I always say, if you connect the dots, at some point it will lead you back to food in so many instances. And those kids may not really, their growth curve may not be telling a story of a child who's suffering with a food issue necessarily. Sometimes it does, but not always. And so, you know, if I look at all the kids in total that I see that have diet-related symptoms, it's much more than that 1/3 that sit at the top of the growth curve, or those kids who are failing to thrive on the other side or underweight. So it's not enough, I think, to look at just the curve. I think you really have to delve into the story of a family's feeding issues and their experience to really understand, could there be a problem or not? And that's why, you know, I've enjoyed our friendship so much, because I really, you know, prior to knowing you, I understood that feeding therapists could be helpful, but I don't think I fully grasped how many kids could use someone like you and the help of somebody like you and your expertise, because there are so many kids that do struggle with the day-to-day task of eating a great meal, and their parents really do have a lot of anxiety and worry over it.
And it shouldn't be this hard, but it's a very, very common problem. And I just think about all the moms, especially, that, you know, have tears in their eyes when they're talking to me about I just want them to eat just like something other than a chicken nugget. And I think about all the dads who are not really sure how to go about it. Maybe we're raised in a family where it's like, eat your peas, you know, or you're not leaving the table. There's so much, not only about the child, but also the family story too, that we have to consider. And it really takes time and getting to know these families and figuring out what path is going to be best for them. And that's why I love the fact that you have this big teaching kitchen and you bring families in, no matter where they are in the journey, and make it fun and make it an experience, and you're helping them to create memories together in the kitchen.
So true.
You know, it's probably a good time for us to tell everybody here what's going on with the two of us right now. We are really excited. When Namali and I were doing a book signing at the American Academy of Pediatrics most recently, we were trying very hard as we sat there and signed books for all the pediatricians that were lined up to get a book, not to cry. And it's because as they walked up, I remember, Namali, they were handing you $20 bills, and you would say, no, that's too much for this book. And they said, no, it's not for the book, it's for everything you're doing. This is for your nonprofit. And I mean, we were both saying, okay, there's no crying in book signing. Yeah, right? But I was so moved by that. Remember, I turned to you and I said, I know how we can raise some money for this nonprofit. I know how we can get the Dr. Young Preschool Food Adventure to eventually go nationwide, because now we have the research behind it, which we'll be telling everybody about in a minute. but I also know how we can really help families in this quest to raise healthy, happy eaters. I'm going to come out to Virginia, DC area, and I'm going to teach my 2-day course, and 100% of the profits are going to go to your nonprofit. So we got it going. And what are our dates? June 8th and 9th? Is that when I need to show up?
June 8th and 9th.
Okay.
Yeah. It's so exciting, you know, on a personal level, because it's, you know, the funds that we raise, 100% of the funds that we raise go back to the Dr. Young Project program, specifically to the preschool food adventure, to help us really get that off the ground and reaching so many other schools and teachers and parents. I have a mailbox full of emails of people who want this food adventure, and we really need the resources to be able to bring it to all those people. Right. So that's exciting. And then also for you to come and teach a course in our area and teach some of the professionals in our area your approach too, means that kids in our area will also be benefiting from that. And not that everyone's from Virginia. We've actually been getting signups from people that are traveling from all over the place. I mean, it's really exciting how many people are coming to this course. Yeah. To see you speak for 2 days about pediatric feeding. It's just fantastic. So we really are so grateful to you for giving your time and for giving your heart to our mission, and then also to Talk Tools. We just could not have done this without Talk Tools, and they have become a great friend to us, and we are very grateful to the support they're giving to make this course such a success. We're so excited. It's just over a month away, and it's very, very exciting to see it all come together after just kind of an idea at a book signing, right? Right. Let's do it. And, you know, it's true. The good folks at Talk Tools, they love what you're doing. And that when we asked them if they would be our gold sponsor, they said, absolutely, we're in. And we're so honored to be on their page today. So will you just, before we start taking questions, be sure to type in your questions about your kids. If you have questions for Dr. Yum about feeding difficulties or how to help kids with cooking, whatever it happened to be, or for me, please type them in. We'll start reading those in a minute. But I wanted to be sure to let all of you know that the Dr. Yum Preschool Food Adventure, when Dr. Yum was being very modest with you, when she was on NPR and then later in the New York Times, and then I'm just going to name drop, and then on NBC News with Lester Holt, you know, she's kind of a big celebrity, as we all know and love. And when you were on NPR, Dr. Nancy Zucker called you up and said, what are you doing? Tell me about this. And the next thing we knew, Duke University and the Eating Disorders Clinic there, where Dr. Zucker is the director and founder of the Eating Disorders Clinic, suddenly is doing the research on our curriculum. And we just got that preliminary research in. We're hoping to present on it at the American Speech Language Hearing Association. Let's hope our proposal gets accepted. But could you just give them a hint of the amazing findings that have come in to say what attitudes are changing around healthy eating because of this amazing curriculum that you're doing in Virginia? Yeah, so prior to Nancy coming on board and helping us, we were collecting some data from teachers both before and after the curriculum. And I will say one of the things we're most proud about with our curriculum is that we try to create a bridge to the home. So we don't just teach teachers how to teach kids how to be great eaters, but we send a lot of information back to the families. And we have teachers invite those parents into the classroom. We send monthly emails. We give everybody a parent manual at the beginning of the year so they understand the language that's being used in the classroom. And so they're getting recipes and they're getting information throughout the year. And what we wanted to see is this curriculum changing attitudes and behaviors about healthy eating in the home? Because that would be our measure of success. Is this coming home and is this message being translated to a change at home?
Right.
And we were, really excited to see how this would turn out. So we surveyed families before the curriculum started. Then we gave them their parent manuals, and then through the course of academic year, the teachers performed 9 lessons, which involved learning about the nutritional properties of a fruit and vegetable each month, to do a hands-on lesson, to engage in developmental skills, to use music from Mel's CD that she donated to our curriculum, and then to use all these wonderful tools that also we were very lucky to include in the curriculum. And what we found is at the end of their curriculum, there were several measures that did change in terms of attitudes and behaviors. Many reached near clinical significance, but the 2 that were most significant were that parents, after the curriculum was finished, really showed a change in understanding the importance of cooking with their children at home.
Yeah, they get it now. And they get it.
They do. And this is something that I see every day when we hand kids a puppy dog knife that we use in our curriculum, the Kunrakun puppy dog knife. And they see their 3- and 4-year-old using that knife to be a little sous chef, and they see that that is enjoyable, and that down the road maybe the child will enjoy some of the foods that they're chopping as they're sharing that experience of cooking with their family. So so that was really exciting. And then we also showed that the food enjoyment, the amount of enjoyment that kids had around food also increased after the curriculum. So those 2 are huge successes for us, and we're really excited because this year we're actually surveying the teachers as well to see if the teachers have noticed a similar shift in their students' enjoyment and experience of food. And so it's so great to have a researcher involved and to know exactly the right questions to ask, the ones that are most valuable, that are used in this body of literature, so that we can also compare how we've done compared to other programs. But the bottom line is it's changing the experience of enjoying food in the home in a really meaningful way. And we have been very careful to make sure that kids of all types are enjoying this. So we have kids who are in faith-based schools, who are in daycares, who are in Head Start programs, who are a home daycare situation. We added a home daycare provider who's just done a phenomenal job with her kids in her home teaching this curriculum. So and we've really
children with special needs.
And then we have some schools that focus mostly on kids with special needs. And that for me is the most heartwarming experience that I've seen with this curriculum, is to see these kids who might ordinarily have challenges around feeding, enjoying peppers and spinach and mangoes and cilantro. It's really exciting.
I love it. I love it. As you were chatting, I was leafing through Adventures in Veggieland, because in this book there's several different photos of kids using the Kunrakun doggy knives, and we'll post in the comment section for you where you can find those as well. Dr. Yum has a store on her website that we can point you to, and I couldn't find a picture as I'm talking to you. So, but I do, as long as I've got this on the camera right now, I want to tell everybody we are about to post in the comment section. Maybe Dr. Yum, you could do this while I'm chatting. The web page for professionals, as in registered dietitians, pediatricians, speech language pathologists, occupational therapists, graduate students in those fields would be welcome too, to come to this 2-day course where 100% of your registration fee will go to support this program. And Dr. Yum is going to talk too. She's going to be talking during the lunch break. And everybody at the Dr. Yum Project has made a yummy lunch for everyone. So you can find out more information at that link that Dr. Yum just posted. The next 10 people who sign up for that course, when they arrive at the venue just outside DC in Falls Church, Virginia, we're going to have a free copy of Adventures in Veggieland just for you, just for the next 10 people who sign up. And everybody who attends the course gets a copy of Raising a Healthy, Happy Eater. So be sure to have Dr. Yum sign it for you while you're there. But I see some amazing questions that are popping up. So I'm going to grab a couple of them, Dr. Yum, that I think are specifically for you. And let's see. Gosh, there's so many. Do you see one?
I saw someone say I bought the knives and use them with the kiddos. I love them.
Oh my gosh.
Great. You love them too. They're one of my favorites. And I will say I did post a link to our store where some of these fun cooking tools are, and it's an Amazon store, so if you find them and like them, we get a small kickback to the Dr. Yum project as well. But those are a lot of the tools that we like to use in our home and then are in our teaching kitchen, and also that we like to demo with our preschool nutrition curriculum as well.
Dr. Yum, Rachel has two questions here. The first one was, how can I expand a puree diet for a kid with soy, dairy, and wheat allergies? Rachel, I'm not sure if you're asking if I should expand onto other purees or if you mean to expand onto handheld soft foods that you can start to eat. So before I answer that question, I'm going to send this second question of yours over to Dr. Yum. She says, how do you decrease constipation for kids eating pureed fruits and veggies?
How do you decrease constipation?
Yeah, and he's on a pureed diet. So, and they are pureed fruits and veggies, but it sounds like having some constipation troubles. And she's just wondering if there might be some strategies that you might generally recommend.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know what they've tried before. You know, constipation, it's a really tricky thing. I do see a fair amount of kids who seem to get a good amount of fiber in their diet and are strangely still constipated. And so I start to tease apart a little bit of what else they might be eating. Mm-hmm. If their fiber intake looks pretty good, and maybe they're eating a large amount of other binding foods like cereals. You know, for some kids, dairy can be constipating. Yeah. And so that might be something to try, is to reduce the amount of dairy. So it's really hard to know. I mean, I think I would explore that with your pediatrician to see if there are some things that you can try. And sometimes kids will need a gentle laxative for a little while to kind of retrain their bowel to work better. When kids are chronically constipated, sometimes it can distend the bowel, and so their bowel loses a little bit of its function. Yeah. And so if you can retrain the bowel by letting it empty using a gentle laxative, that can help in the long run. So I think I would explore that a little bit further with your pediatrician to see if some of these strategies might work.
Sometimes a gentle laxative will just get things going so that when you are introducing the fruits and vegetables, especially the ones that are higher in magnesium to help things move through, and possibly increasing water and decreasing the dairy so much. Now, I'm so sorry, I hope this doesn't sound crude, but things are sort of unclogged. You know, it's like unclogging a drain, frankly. And once you get things going through and you keep things moving through, that child's much more comfortable. And as a feeding specialist, I can say that constipation is one of the #1 reasons that kids don't eat, because they really listen to their bodies and it will stop appetite in its tracks. They'll eat just enough. And we need kids to eat a nice full meal, which also helps with bowel movements, frankly, instead of kind of grazing throughout the day. So the situation can be quite complicated and it varies from child to child. And I love what you're saying is that definitely chat with their pediatrician and their feeding specialist and get everybody's head wrapped around that particular issue.
I always tell people it's one continuous tube. So even reflux can be exacerbated. Yes. If there's enough constipation. So sometimes I'll see kids with pretty bad acid reflux, and if we help constipation from the other side, it can add some benefit to their reflux symptoms as well.
For sure. It's just a whole system of pressures and valves. So if it's stopped up down in the belly, the pressure is going to go up, which is only going to exacerbate that reflux. Let's take another question here too. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Yum, did you want to say anything else about that? You
Not at
get,
all. I'm just looking here at all these great questions.
okay.
Oh, and you mentioned probiotics too, and that's a great thought. I usually, for most GI complaints, I will add to try a probiotic because, I think we really underestimate the value of our microbiome just in general.
Yeah.
That the bacteria and fungus that lives in our gut has so much impact on our overall health. And so particularly for digestive complaints, adding a probiotic can be really important. But you also have to feed the probiotics, right? So those healthy bacteria need fiber. So it's not enough just to take a probiotic, but you need to follow that up with a good fiber-rich diet.
Absolutely. And a couple of months ago, I flew out your registered dietitian, Sarah Moran, to Colorado upon your recommendation, and she and I filmed a 2-hour course. It's my brand new video course called the Pediatric Nutrition Course, Everything You Need to Know from 6 months to 6 years. And it's basically me, the speech therapist, sitting in the kitchen with Sarah. We got a bunch of food in front of us, and me asking a million questions because speech pathologists don't get any information on nutrition. And having an RD right there in my kitchen just opened up my eyes to all the possibilities of what we could do for these kids. One of the things we talked about it when it came to fiber and constipation was the importance of making sure that the child was getting soluble and insoluble fiber. That's what that combo is really what helps that child feel more comfortable.
Absolutely.
Did you see another question there that you'd like to answer as I'm scanning through? I wasn't sure if you had already picked one. There's so many good ones here.
How do you help parents who have minimal access to fresh fruits and veggies start getting good food in their kids? I try to find frozen food substitutes, especially for smoothies, to get more color in the diet, but I would love to hear what you think. So I love the idea of frozen vegetables, and often frozen veggies are a little bit more affordable, and they're less perishable. So if you're dealing with a picky eater who may not learn to love a new vegetable within the shelf life of that vegetable, you have opportunity to go back and keep trying without losing that fruit or vegetable. So you can keep going back to it over the course of the freezer life of that vegetable, as opposed to the shelf life on the countertop or in the fridge. So I think it's a much more affordable way to continue to introduce fruits and vegetables to your child, and you feel less bad for the waste. And I know parents get frustrated about food waste, and it can be a problem, particularly if you're on a budget or if you don't have access. So I think frozen is great. Even canned can be okay. You just have to watch the sodium content in particular with canned foods. I try not to rely too heavily on canned foods because of some of the hormone modulators that can be leached into the canned foods. So it's not my favorite, but by all means, it can be a great way to include fruits and vegetables if you need to. And then, buying what's in season also can be a great way to stretch your dollar when it comes to introducing new fruits and vegetables. Often what's in season also tastes better. And so it's easier to coerce a new tomato eater to eat a in-season summer tomato than perhaps kind of a sadder cardboard winter tomato.
Well, and I wanted to be sure to mention too, just to make sure that we don't forget this point, is that on your website, you have a really cool app, and it's also on your website called the Mealmaker Machine, yeah?
Yeah, the Mealmaker Machine. Yeah, one of the big conversations our team has at the Dr. Young Project is, how to reduce food waste. So the average family can waste about $2,000 in food every year, and that's a lot of money. And it's often because we just don't know what to do with some of the leftover foods that we buy for recipes that we've completed. You may have a half of a pepper, or you buy a pack of something and you only use, a portion of it. And so what do you do with that leftover food? And so we created this app it's actually a tool on our website that can be used for free, or if you're more of an app person, you can download the app in the App Store for your iPhone. But it's basically deciding what you want to eat and then plugging in what you may have that's left over in your fridge or your pantry and creating a great meal with those bits. And it's kind of the way that my mom taught me to cook, is to look in the fridge and go, what do I have? Okay, now what can I make with that? And I see that as we've kind of lost the experience of cooking, that we've lost that skill as well. And
Good point.
I really like teaching families that they can be creative in the kitchen and they can use what they have to come up with something that may not be online or published in a cookbook, but that they can kind of create on the fly. And after many times of using our app, my hope is that families then feel comfortable enough that they can do that on their own and not waste that $2,000 a year.
Yeah.
And put that food to good use.
You know, would you please put the link to the Mealmaker in the comments? And I just wanted to follow up with you, what you just said, and that I think we especially want to be sensitive to families who are challenged by food insecurity. Plenty of people are struggling and going paycheck to paycheck, and you don't necessarily know by the suit that they're wearing. You know, it's really, really a hidden epidemic. And the one thing about the Mealmaker machine, and I love the fact that you created it and came up with it, is that it does address, let's use what's in the cupboard. We can't go to the store. We don't have the money for a couple more days. What can we look at in the cupboard? And then likewise, I've noticed that a few people, and we have a lot of therapists making comments here, and someone already mentioned too, having 2 young boys who have autism. And I have to tell you that I love the Mealmaker app for all my feeding kids, but especially my kids with autism. They love it, and it's because it's so systematic. It makes sense to them. And when I'm going to hold it up, I pulled it up on my phone, but I'm afraid you aren't going to be able to see it very well in this light. It's so much fun. You can see it turning right there with the gears. The kids actually enter in what they have in the cabinet, and then it generates a recipe based on that, whether you want to make curry or soup or anything, stir fry. And then it pops up with their customized recipe. And that is so cool. I just love it. I just love it. I wanted to be sure too, to just follow up, piggyback on your reply about the frozen vegetables. In Adventures in Veggie Land, there are several different recipes using frozen vegetables. The entire book is according to season, because I want to be sensitive to the fact that we can buy more fresh vegetables if we focus on the vegetables that are in season, and the recipes follow that train of thought. But that doesn't mean that frozen vegetables aren't an excellent resource. At the same time, make sure that when you're making your fresh vegetable dish, set aside some and freeze it so that you can pull it out again a month later, because now that child's being exposed to that dish once again, even though that vegetable is now out of season and maybe even more expensive. You've got it right there in the freezer. So try to double the batch whenever you can. Freeze small containers, maybe even ice cube trays. A lot of my families in feeding therapy will freeze little bits in an ice cube tray, and then we'll put a couple layers of protection and foil over that. And they just peel back the foil, pop out one little ice cube of whatever that food was. Maybe it's the broccoli casserole that we have in the book. And they let it defrost, warm it up a little bit in the microwave a month later, and just that little tablespoon is back on that kid's plate, so that these kids are getting consistent exposure to new foods over time. Because as I remember you told me, even with your own son, it takes time to learn to eat, especially vegetables. Your son, how many years to eat a tomato?
It's about, he's 15 now. He's finishing his sophomore year, but it took him about 12 years to enjoy tomatoes, raw tomatoes.
Raw tomatoes.
Yeah, and I mean, that's tough, 12 years. But I just knew that I wanted him to be able to enjoy a sliced garden fresh tomato on a sandwich and not have to peel it off.
Right.
So I sort of made it my mission to, continue to gently expose him, and it finally, I wore him down, and he actually really likes tomatoes now. I mean, they're not at the top of the list, but he can enjoy a tomato on a sandwich.
Yeah.
And you know, I see so many families, you know, not getting frustrated before that success happens. And so I love the idea of the small, underwhelming, frozen portions,
Yeah.
because you can go back so many times. In his case, it was probably, I don't know, 180 times of trying raw tomatoes. You know, it helps to offer small portions. We talk about that a lot, that underwhelming portion.
Right.
But it doesn't feel too big. It doesn't feel too scary to just try a little bit.
Well, as a matter of fact, I am typing in right now something special for the parents and the professionals, because right after we wrote Raising a Healthy, Happy Eater, then we decided, well, we should make a video course where we're in the kitchen cooking and sharing some ideas from the book and even more. And that's one of the things we talk about, is how to keep food underwhelming for these hesitant eaters and really take it step by step. So because I know the parents can't come to the 2-day course, unfortunately it's only for professionals, I want to make sure that they have something special too. So our 5-hour course that you can take at your own pace, you can watch it 2 minutes at a time on your phone if you want to. We have a special discount code just till midnight tonight, and you can get that 5-hour course for 30% off. So that's 30% off a $50 course. And the code is Monday Madness 30, and I'm hitting enter right now so that you'll see where to find that course. And by the way, in a moment, I'll also include the link in case professionals would like to take that course and possibly submit it for CEUs. We can certainly show you the information that you need for that as well. So not only do we have our 2-day course coming up so that we can raise $40,000 for the Dr. Yum Project. So please sign up soon because it is filling up fast. We're going to limit it at 100 people. And we also have the Picky Eater video course where the parents can get a 30% discount. And why is that important in this particular chat right now? Well, a portion of the proceeds from that course also benefits the Dr. Yum Project, as well as every time you buy a copy of Raising a Healthy, Happy Eater, a portion of this also goes to the Dr. Yum Project. And you can find this book on the Talk Tools website. So be sure to buy it there along with some of their amazing products. We are going to have them at our 2-day course, and we have a special bundle of products we put together that I especially like to use in feeding therapies. So that'll be fun to have that. And I can see so many questions here. Maybe we could take maybe one more, and then after we say goodbye, we could go in and start commenting a little bit more and provide some links and some resources. I think everyone for sure should go to your website, Dr. Yum. Would you put it in the comments one more time so they can sign up for your newsletter? You send out an amazing newsletter with tips all the time. I'll also put in my website. And the moment you click on my URL here, the moment you do that, you'll see my sign up for my newsletter will pop up. I'm sending one out on Thursday that will be all about how to teach a child to swallow. And gosh, let's pick 1 or 2 more questions, and I think we should let everybody relax with their families on a Monday. I wanted to be sure to address Vanessa's question. She said, ideally, I know we want both parents on board when expanding a diet, but if one parent doesn't see the value, as it's best to have him or her be absent in the process or giving an indication to a child that he or she isn't in sync with the program. That's tricky. You really do want everybody on the same page. So often what I discover is that most often for me personally, the mom is really, really worried, and the dad is being very stoic. And he's like, he's fine. He's going to be fine. You know, he's just going to grow out of it. And what that dad is really doing is he's actually pretty scared, and he's trying to be the rock in the family and help the mother feel better that way. But I always pull him aside and say, hey, I need you to share some of the worry. She's working so hard to help this kid learn to eat, and she's really, really scared. And I know you're trying to help her by saying, it's going to be okay, he's fine, you know, he'll grow out of it, all kids grow out of it. Well, I need you to share a little bit of the worry so she can relax a little bit. You just act a tiny bit more worried, and you'll see things will just be a little less stressful in your house. So that it kind of pulls him into the process. We need everybody participating. What do you think, Dr. Young?
I think it's vital to have really the best chance of success at getting a child to enjoy a healthy diet. It's really vital to have everybody on board. I mean, so much so that, you know, we started out really focused on kids and how to get kids to eat a great diet, but we quickly realized that we need families to be on board. And families could be everybody, the extended family. And even a step further, we realized it's important for a community to provide support to a family and to that child. So there has to be that infrastructure within a community where there's a priority around being well. We call it a culture of wellness. And so, I think it's not only important to have both parents, but any extended family, any teachers or mentors, scouts, leaders, religious
good point.
advisors, everybody to kind of be on the same page and offer that support and not be working against that parent who's trying so hard. And I think it goes much more smoothly. And I've invited, you know, fathers and grandfathers and grandmothers into an office visit when I see a child struggling with food. And sometimes my approach is just to really applaud the efforts of that one family member and say, you know, she's worked so hard and here's the success. And I would love for you all to really be behind her and contributing and, you know, see what progress we've made. Can you imagine if everybody was helping, how much we could even go further? And, you know, I had a family the other week that I'd just been seeing the mom and dad came in. And he got really charged up and finally, I think, got behind what mom has been trying to do for months and years. And it's really refreshing. I think that face-to-face, though, often is what can spark that other family member or family members to help.
I love that. I see one question that I think kind of pertains to everyone here. And again, I promise that we'll go through and we'll answer questions over the next 24 hours and provide a lot of information. We have a lot of articles and videos and our YouTube channels and so many ways that we can answer these questions. Be sure to come to the My Munchbug page, and every Monday night we'll have a Mondays with Coach Mel. I have a feeling they would like you to be back on screen here again, and we should do one again together. But you know what? Maybe we should even do one when I'm out there for June 8th and 9th for that course. Maybe that evening we'll grab a little glass of wine and sit down and do a Facebook Live like this so that we can be in the same room and have everybody join us too. That'd be fun. So here's the last question that I think is really important for everyone here. Stephanie asks, when you're introducing new foods to little kids, do you make them try a bite? Or do you not worry about it if they refuse to taste it? My boys refuse to eat carrots and some lentil pasta that I offered to them this evening. If you don't mind, I'm going to jump in, and then Dr. Yum, I know you've got some thoughts on this. So thank you. I have to say that my job as a pediatric feeding therapist is to be that child's food coach. That's why all my kids call me Coach Mel. And, you know, just like a gymnastics coach or a soccer coach, I'm going to push that kid a little bit. We're learning. I'm gently pushing as I'm building confidence and trust. But that's my role, and that child sees me in that role, just like their math tutor pushes a little bit with math. Well, for parents, it's really important that we don't make kids take a bite. And even in feeding therapy, I never make a child take a bite. I have specific techniques that help them build their confidence, that I can say, we're going to take a bite and we're going to try it. And here's how we're going to If we gag, here's what we're going to do. And if we need to spit it out, here's what we're going to do. And I have very, very specific techniques for that come at a certain time in the feeding therapy process. But at home, I don't want parents making a child take a bite. And I really appreciate you asking that. There's great research that shows that when we, out of the goodness of our heart, apply that kind of pressure, that it actually the child ends up not liking that food. You might be able to make them eat it, but they won't learn to love that food. So if you look at Raising a Healthy, Happy Eater, or in my new book, Veggie Land, it will give you lots of ideas on how to encourage children, if they want to take a tiny taste. And the most important thing is, you don't have to like that taste. That's what I try to help parents understand. When kids say, I don't like it, and they don't want to try it again, gosh, professional chefs everywhere don't like that first taste. They take a taste, and then they think to themselves, what else does that need? Does it need a little more salt, a little sugar, maybe some dill? And you taste again. So even in Veggie Land, someone had posted on Instagram today that they didn't care for one of the glazes that I put on top of Give Peas a Chance cake. It's a cake that's made out of peas. It's really yummy, and it's very green. Instead, they used whipped cream, or they thought maybe a cream cheese frosting would be good. I love that. It's not about following the recipe. It's about helping kids love cooking and learn to take little tastes and then change it for their particular palate. And once you have a child who's brave enough to do that, then you've got an adventurous eater. You're on your way. What do you think, Dr. Yum?
Oh, 100% agree. That's why I think your book is so brilliant, is because it really is about enjoying the experience of cooking. And part of the experience of cooking is trying foods. And, you know, we call kids in our cooking classes junior foodies. Part of being a foodie is understanding what you like.
Yeah.
And how to change a recipe so that you can make it better for yourself.
Yeah.
Or for others who may have a different palate. And so, you know, I think ideally you want to get to the point with a child where kind of the rule is that we all explore food.
Yeah.
And so that can mean having a bite of everything, maybe not finishing it, maybe not loving it, but having a bite. And that's where we should be heading. But it's true, when you force a child and you make a child try that bite before they're ready for that rule, it really can create a dynamic that works against you. And so keep the end game in mind, but don't push too hard. And, you know, rely on people like Mel who know just how to push in just the right way for those kids who are more hesitant.
Really good point. Stephanie, thank you so much for bringing that question up. I think it's something that a lot of parents are wondering about. And just enjoy the journey as much as you can and encourage them, but don't make them take a taste. And then if they don't like it, ask them, what do we need to do to change it so that it will taste good? Let's figure it out together. It's okay not to like it. Today we're just practicing it. We're just tasting it. And that sort of relaxed attitude will spill over and they'll pick up on your energy. I want to make sure that we be sure to say thank you one more time to Talk Tools for being our gold sponsor for the benefit course for the Dr. Yum Project. Please sign up to join us, all the professionals, June 8th and 9th in Falls Church, Virginia. The link is in the comments. Parents, please sign up. By tonight, you can get 30% off the Picky Eater course. And if you'd like a code for the Pediatric Nutrition course, I'd be happy to post that one here too. Anything else that you can think of before we say goodbye to all these amazing people? So many people were here tonight.
So many great questions. It was so exciting to see the enthusiasm and, you know, and just to see how much parents really want their kids to enjoy feeding and tune in on a Monday night to get some answers. And of course, thank you so much to Talk Tools for their support of the Dr. Yum Project and our upcoming course for professionals on June 8th and 9th in Falls Church, Virginia. We're excited to see you in person at the course, and thanks for all of the help that you've given us this far.
Great. And by the way, I will be downloading this video and posting it on my YouTube channel. So if you are subscribed to my YouTube channel, you will get this video tomorrow in your inbox so that you can listen to it in the car or watch it again or share it with a friend. So be sure to subscribe to both Dr. Yum's YouTube channel and Melanie Potock, my YouTube channel. And thanks again for everything. It was so great to have this many people tune in. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.